start week 8 of our Dutch Wonderland sew along. A few things before I get into the class. First up is the ruler I was talking about last week, the Ultimate Flying Geese ruler that I used to trim up all the units from block week 7 is now on our website. So if you want this ruler, we've got it up there. Like I said, it's great if you do flying geese and you want them to come out perfect every time. So check that out. It's on there at thewhimsicalworkshop.com. We also have this month's free block of the month with Blockmania. This is our Study Buddy. This one is up on the website. You can download the pattern, the SVG files if you are using a Cricut maker. It also has, we have a full quilt tutorial video up on our YouTube channel, and we talk about the block on our blog post, along with, there were 38 other summer or back to school blocks this month. So there's a ton of blocks over there you can download for free. So check out all the great designers and all the blocks. And like I said, this guy is up and ready for everybody on all of our social media channels. All right, so let's get into the blocks. So this is where we're at with our sew along. We have done, this is the block 1. This is the block created from the border blocks on block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4. This is last week's block 5, and then this week we have block 6 and 7 mixed together. They're both log cabins. There's just a differential in fabric placement, so I figured it was easier to do them together in one class. And so this is our block 6 and block 7, and we're going to talk all about straight seams, pressing, and how to cut straight so you don't get a warp in your strip. And so I want to turn you down so you can see what I'm demoing. If you are just joining us, we do have all of the other sew-alongs videos up on our website. Or I'm sorry, all the video sew-alongs up on our YouTube channel. So you could start with week 1 and be caught up in no time, or do it at your own leisure. So it's really up to you. All right, so here is block 6 laid out on the board. And here's what it looks like put together. So block 6 has the green or the fabric C out here. And then it has the fabric A here. All the other color placements match block 7, but on block 7 we switched the fabric B and the fabric A positions. So for the quilt you need to make 8 of these, I think it was. 8 and 8, because I did a lot of sewing this week. So you do 8 of this one and 8 of this one. They really make up most of the border that's going to go around the outside of our blocks. So that is the block. It is done as a courthouse step with a 4 patch in the middle. So let's go back to our board. So first, for this one, I highly recommend, once you have all your pieces cut, to lay them out as the full block. And then pick up, like I picked these up and sewed them together. I did all 8, then I picked these up, sewed these together, did all 8. So I built it, but I kept all the pieces laid in the right order. And when I finished a unit and I put it back in, I double checked with the picture to make sure that it was in the right spot. This is one you need to kind of be slow, not because it's a hard block at all, it's a very easy block, because it's so easy to flip-flop things around. That being said, if one of these squares gets flip-flopped, you're never going to see it in this bright, colorful quilt. If you want to leave it, you certainly could, but if you want to keep it exactly the way it should be, that's how you do it. So for the center block, I'm going to show you a trick for pressing 4 patch, and you may have already seen this trick. But I just actually learned this a few years ago, and I have made thousands of quilts, and it was kind of one of those things I was like, oh, why didn't I know that years ago? So I'm going to share it with you. First, when you sew your 4 patch, you're going to sew these together, and I press towards the raspberry and the red. You just want to press in opposite directions. I could have pressed blue to purple, but I did raspberry to red. So there's that. That way, when I go to sew these two together, the center seam would nest, which is always our goal when pressing, is to try to get things to nest for us, because it just adds less bulk. And then I sewed that straight across, and that was this guy. So this one, the rule of thumb for pressing is to always press from the front. And you certainly could just press this in one direction. It's not very bulky in the center. But if you flip it to the back first and you gently separate your seams and you do pop a little stitch there, you end up with this little 4-patch. And once I get it pressed, I'll hold it with the camera. This little kind of 4-patchy flower. And that means the pink can press to the purple presses to the red presses to the blue, and the blue presses to the pink. It's it's all being pressed in one direction. And then when you lay this out and you feel that there is no bulk there. So that is the secret tip of the week. Hopefully you guys have seen that tip before. But again, if you when you open this up, you would press it from the front and pop the stitches open, and then you can press it in a rotation. All right, so once you have your 4-patch done, we're ready to sew our first round of strips on. Make sure we lay this down right. Last week, everything I did was backwards. So you would lay this one on, pick it up, sew your 1/4 inch, and then for sewing 1/4 inch seams and making them very accurate, I have a video on our YouTube channel all about doing perfect 1/4 inch seams, so make sure you check that one out. But this is my demo. Pretend this black line is my sewing machine arm, and this is a clearly perfect angle. That was the prize we gave away this week. That's this guy. And you put it on the bed of your machine, and it gives you a center line, a 1/4 inch on either side, and 45-degree either way. So I usually will cut this and put this on my sewing machine, following the directions or the video I did. And then I take a sewing edge, QTools sewing edge, and I tape it along, I stick it down, it's adhesive, right along that 1/4 inch line, and that gives me a bumper. So my pieces do not go past the 1/4 inch line, which is very important when you sew anything, but especially on this block. It'll bump right up to that, and then by the time it gets up here, you've got your 1/4 inch foot that helps you guide it the rest of the way. So you lay it onto here, bumping it up to the bumper, and you sew your 1/4 inch seam. The reason I say 1/4 inch seams are so important on any kind of log cabin block, it's again important everywhere, but especially on this, is if you were to wave or make this crooked, it's very obvious if this doesn't go straight, if it has a wave in it. So you want to make sure you keep that straight. Even more than a 1/4 inch, you just need to be straight so that when you go to press it open, it lays flat. So for this, we're going to sew the cream onto the one side, the black onto the other, and then we have to sew these squares to the background. I call the A, B, and C fabrics background, so it doesn't matter if it's cream, black, or this lime green, those are the backgrounds. So for this block, you want to make sure that you always press towards the background. So in this case, we press towards the cream, this case we press towards the green. When we sew these squares onto the cream, we are going to press them towards the background, which is cream. So they both go that way. Same for this one. If you always are consistent in this and you press towards the background, so here's black presses, the seams will always nest for you, and that will make assembly much, much easier. So once you have these two on, we're ready to sew this one on, and this background seam goes to the right and this one goes to the left, so when you go to sew it, it will nest and reduce the bulk. So let's show you that. So that's this guy. And so here he is all pressed, and how you press, other than the center, you always press from the front, use the edge of your iron, and you push it into the seam. You'll see I don't go all the way out. I'm making sure that this fabric doesn't roll into the seam, because if it rolls into the seam, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're consistently rolling into a seam and you do a 1/16 or a 32nd of an inch over a whole quilt, you can add an inch or two to your quilt, and then your borders don't fit. So you want to make sure you press to the seams, and these go out. We're always going out on this. So those go out. Then we're ready to put this next piece on. So you would sew these side borders on. each side. There's a cream and a green. And you would again press towards the background, so press out. And then once you have that done, you're ready to sew this guy on, and he will nest because we press towards the background. So these seams go this way and those seams go that way. And you can just pin this guy on and sew him. And that is how you do block 6. So for block 6, it's pretty straightforward. Again, this is block 6. And then for block 7, we're repeating it again. And you're just switching. You can see it better this way, these 2 pieces and these 2 pieces, and that's how it was cut, so you should have the right pieces. So it's a very simple block this week, but the pressing, this is a good one to practice pressing, this is a good one to practice 1/4 inch seams, and to make sure that everything aligns and is squared up. Let me turn you back up. There we go. Hello, hello. All right, so again, let me get this higher. There we go. So you need to make 8 of these if you're doing the actual Dutch Wonderland, and you need to make 8 of these to do the Dutch Wonderland. If you are doing our scrappy quilt, I'm going to start working on our layout here so that we can put the 9, there'll be 9 blocks in the end because we only have 1 more block for the quilt, which is going to go right here, and that's next week's block. So I am going to do a layout for the 9 blocks, though I am kicking around the idea of doing 2 more of these. No, 4 more of those. I'm trying to get to 12. So I might do 2 more of these and then just pick my favorite to do the 3rd of the quilt blocks we need to make up to get to 12. But I want to see how it all lays out and if we can make the backgrounds do some fun stuff for us. And the layout for the quilt for Dutch Wonderland and for this will be in 2 weeks. And it's a very quick class today. Does anybody have questions? Oh, I love you. Thank you. Are you talking about this guy, the ruler guy, Glenda? This is actually just a 16 by 16 inch ruler with batting tape to it. She was asking about the design board and how do I have this little tiny design board. So I made it out of a ruler. It's easy and portable, and then it's a multitasker. I can pull the batting off and use it as a ruler. For next week, there will be 1 block left. We only have to make 4 of those, I believe. So this is the one with the most homework, because in the end it is 16 blocks. And if you think about it, 16 blocks, that's a quilt in itself. It took a couple hours to sew them together, and if you can't get them all done, again, just do 1 of each to see if you like how it goes, and then we'll be ready to start assembling our quilt. So again, all of these videos up to today are posted and on YouTube under at the Whimsical Workshop. Make sure to put the word "the." And also we're going to be doing a blog post follow-up at the end in September. So any quilts that are done, any blocks that are done, anything that inspired you to go out and do from this class, please shoot us pictures. You can either post them in our Facebook page, you can send them to me at Heidi@thewhimsicalworkshop. That's my email address. And let me know, and we'll add those into the blogs and give you credit for your work and your effort, and just show off a little. You did a lot of work for this. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's class, and I will be back next week. One other quick ad thing for you guys is I will be doing another Designer's Tips and Tricks today live on Facebook at 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is our time, or 5 p.m. East Coast time. So tune in for that. I'm going to be going over fusible applique pressing sheets, how to rip out blanket stitching, which we don't like to do, but we sometimes have to do. And I'm going to be going over applique, our patterns and how we design them. And again, that's at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so make sure you check that out, and I hope to see you a little later today. And I thank you for watching, and I'm going to give one last call out for any questions. Check. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure you like and subscribe below. You can find the Whimsical Workshop on our website, thewhimsicalworkshop.com, and that has all links to all of our other social media platforms. Thanks for joining us.